guys, I'm glad to see you're back, and this is part 3 of our 4-part series having to do with the causes of civil war. We're on our way to the Civil War. We've been learning about the different compromises, how America was trying to relieve sectional tension through compromises. And we already discussed the Missouri Compromise and the Compromise of 1850. And now we're at the Kansas-Nebraska Act. And the guiding question here is, should slavery expand into the Western territories? So now we're talking about territories. In the past, the compromises had to do with states, because states do send representation in Congress. Therefore, there is power to be divided amongst in government. But when it comes to the territories, how should we handle this? And that's the next guiding question. So what they decided to do when it comes to the Kansas and Nebraska territory is they decided to allow them to vote for slavery or against slavery. So they went through popular sovereignty. And if we remember popular sovereignty, it was one of our 7 principles that makes up our Constitution. And basically popular means the people, sovereignty is power. So give the people the power. The people have the power in government when it comes to our type of government. So they said, why not extend it to the territories and allow them to vote whether or not to allow slavery in their territory? Well, unfortunately, even though America thought they were doing, the right thing and allowing to vote for slavery, what ended up happening is the Kansas and Nebraska territories are flooded with people going over to try to sway each other to vote either for or against slavery. And unfortunately, violence does break out between pro-slavery and anti-slavery voters. This leads to what is known as Bleeding Kansas. And so even though America was trying to relieve those sectional tensions, we actually had a mini civil war amongst us. So I'm going to show you guys this quick YouTube video just to so you can get a visualization of what was going on during that time.
The Northerners began to see that, wait a minute, they're not going to keep slavery just in the South. They want to take slavery west and to turn the country into a slave country.
Americans from all over the country are flooding into the new territories on the frontier. Each becomes a battleground. Will it be slave owning or free? It comes to a head in Kansas. A peaceful protest turns violent. Emotions run high. Towns are terrorized. Stores robbed. Homesteads burned. North and South are polarized. Neither side will back down. One man will stop at nothing to abolish slavery. John Brown, a folk hero in the North, a terrorist to the South. He thinks he's fighting a holy war. He believes himself to be God's chosen instrument. He will murder for his cause.
John Brown is one of those controversial figures about whom almost anything you can say is true. He's a terrorist in our modern terms. He's a revolutionary.
The divide between North and South is an open wound. Kansas bleeds for 2 years. More than 200 dead. America is on the road to war. Slavery is tearing the nation apart.
Basically, this is the gist of the Kansas-Nebraska Act. The question is, should slavery expand into the Western territories? And when it came to Kansas and Nebraska, they allowed them to vote on slavery through popular sovereignty, but it had an unintended effect. Violence broke out between pro and anti-slavery people. So that became an issue. And instead of relieving sectional tension, it actually increased it. So popular sovereignty territories can vote for or against slavery. Effect, violence breaks out in Kansas, which leads to Bleeding Kansas. And so what I'm going to allow you guys to do next is to check out this question. Which of the following was a result of the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854? Is it F, fighting broke out between pro-slavery and anti-slavery groups in Kansas? G, Kansas entered the Union as a slave state through popular sovereignty in 1856? H, Nebraskan settlers who supported abolition moved to Kansas? Or J, the boundary established by the Missouri Compromise of 1820 was extended farther south? I hope that you guys were able to answer F. Fighting broke out between pro-slavery and anti-slavery groups in Kansas, because just as we saw here, that was an effect of the Kansas-Nebraska Act. And I want you guys to keep in mind, every time they're questioning you on these compromises, it's not about what was it was more so of what effect did it have, right? So just as we saw the Missouri Compromise, the effect was that it temporarily relieved sectional tension. The Compromise of 1850 had some effects. Both freed men and slaves were being kidnapped and brought down to the South into slavery. And then another one was that the abolitionist movement grew. And now with the Kansas-Nebraska Act, the effect is that it led to Bleeding Kansas, a mini civil war in the Western territories. So I hope you guys liked this video and that you've watched my previous ones. And there's one more left in this series leading to the Civil War. And the last one is Dred Scott versus Sanford. And that question, our guiding question for that one is going to be, are slaves citizens or property? And if they're property, can the government take it away without due process? That means, can we make laws that take away your property without a reason? So I hope you guys watch that one too. It's called Dred Scott versus Sanford, 1857. We'll see you guys. Thank you.